Alright, in this video I'll be showing you how to remove the front hub from your car in order to access the wheel bearing, to press it out and reinstall a new wheel bearing. I've already got the nuts loosened for the front wheel. So that'll be easier to remove. I usually just throw the wheel underneath the car for a little extra safety. First, you're gonna undo the caliper bolt. Which in my application are these two 19mm bolts. One there and one there. And I just have the two bolts there that hold the brake line mount on. Try not to put too much stress on the brake line. Remove the rotor. Upset your green too. Why not? Okay, then you have the tie rod bolt, the upper control arm bolt, and the lower control arm bolt. You might need a breaker bar to break that top one free, or to break the bolts free. So there are a couple ways to get the ball joint and the upper ball joint free. One would be a pickle fork, and the other would be a dead blow with a hammer. So the dead blow with the hammer, got the top one to come free pretty nicely there. Might help out. Flash not working. And the bottom one, I'm gonna have to loosen that bolt up. pound the pickle fork into between the ball joint and the mount where the ball joint goes through. I think that's got it there. And then the tie rod end. Normally I would use a little penetrating oil on all of these, but I've had this apart a few times already, so it should just come apart pretty simply. Plus this car only sees summertime anyway. I just give it a whack on the top with the hammer, but I make sure the bolt's on so I don't tear the threads up or anything. And I keep all my bolts in a nice pile. And that's pretty well it there. So to press the bearing out, you need to remove this here dust cap. And there's a big nut, I believe, I'm not sure what size it is, but I made a special tool to remove that as well. So if you noticed, I did put a grease cert on this to grease that bearing because it was dragging, and it did kind of work. The only thing is that it came out the seal on the other side. I don't know if you can really see that, and spattered the inside of the dust shield. But it is moving fairly freely, and I wasn't feeling as much drag, so it did kind of work. So this is a special tool I made. It's obviously just a regular socket with 1 7/16 size, and then I just welded a nut because this is a full inch drive, and I only had a 1/2 inch drive ratchet, so I just welded a 19, 20, or 21 millimeter nut on it and put it on a breaker bar in the vise, and that should get it to come free. So basically, undo that big nut and then press the shaft out. You can drive it out too. I don't know if I necessarily recommend that, but it can be done. That's how I did my first one. Alright, so the way I got this big nut undone was I pushed that little indent out. Then I clamped it in the vise without trying to damage this ABS shield. Then I stuck a bolt through the caliper bracket against the vise and braced it with this big bolt that I had stuffed him through into the vise. So, and then I took my 1/2-inch breaker bar with a pipe on the handle for a little leverage, and my fancy little setup here with my welded socket, and just reefed on it, and it finally came free. So now I'm ready to press it out. Alright, so right here I have the hub sitting in the press, and I've got it blocked up. I have some steel cylinders to push out the hub shaft. So basically I'm going to pump the foot pedal on the jack, and it's going to push out the shaft, and then I'll repress in the new bearing and the new shaft after pressing out the old bearing. Alright, so here I'm pushing out the shaft the rest of the way. It's now come out and free, so I'll basically be lifting the hub away and the shaft will be sitting on the press, and then I will do the bearing pressing after. Alright, now I'm using a seal puller to pull the seal from the outside of the hub. That way I can remove the circlip or the C-clip and then press the bearing out from the other side. Don't forget to remove the C-clip, as I actually did and had to press the bearing back in. So yeah, that should maybe help you. So I have the hub in the press. It's all blocked up, and I use the actual bearings and the cage to press out the bearing. Alright, here I'm using the bearing race from the old bearing to press in the new bearing, and it should go in without damaging the new bearing. Alright, here's the new bearing pressed in, and next thing you do is you'll have to press in the dust shield. Don't forget to put the C-clip back in as well. Alright, the new seal is installed, and now just have to press in the axle back into the hub, and that's my setup here. It shouldn't take much long to put it back together. One thing to note, because the ball joint's a little aged, I mean it's not bad, but it could be better. It will have a potential to spin. Same with maybe the upper. It's a little tighter than the bottom one. So I usually just use the bar to press the hole down onto the tapered part of this, so that'll bind it and will tighten up. So basically you're gonna force that down onto there and it'll tighten up, hopefully. So I guess I got lucky with that one. It did turn a little, but it tightened right up, so pretty happy with that. I'm gonna put one more just to make sure that it's getting tight. And then I can see the cotter hole. Guess not.